come the aliens, they're coming right down to earth. Watch out, it's the aliens, run for all you worth. Here come the Lost Boys, they're in Japan. Wendy and the Lost Boys are making their last stand. It's an alien show.
So I wanted to respond to some feedback I've gotten from commenters who are fans of Alien Earth. Now, this show has really divided audiences, and not along necessarily the normal lines. I mean, I would say that this is not quite like The Acolyte and its division of Star Wars fans, where there was a very clear sort of woke versus anti-woke thing going on, which is my favorite. I love it when every debate devolves into this thing too woke versus this thing not woke enough or whatever. Alien Earth, I don't think its problems actually have to do too much with being overly woke, although I will say that there is a tendency in sort of overly woke writing to create girl boss or Mary Sue type characters, which I talked about in my last video, which I think Wendy has become over the course of the season, unfortunately, because it's one of the most boring archetypes. So I'm just going to sort of cover the bases, and I'm not trying to like make fun of fans of Alien Earth here. Like I'm generalizing some of the backlash or the pushback I've gotten. It's valid. I mean, it's valid. Like I get it. Like I get what people are saying. I understand that you're a fan of the show. You're allowed to like the show. You don't have to agree with me. I don't hate you for it. I don't think you're an idiot because you like Alien Earth. There are some very entertaining things about it. Then again, at the same time, I'm not going to, like someone also commented recently and they're like, all opinions are equally valid. And I don't think that's true. I think that some opinions are worse than others. I think that's just actually a fact. Like, yeah, everyone's got a right to an opinion, but that doesn't mean that they're all equally valid. I could say the world is flat. That's my opinion, man. And that wouldn't make it so. So one of the criticisms that I've had of this show is that the crew of the USCSS Maginot, it is a French ship. This crew is very stupid and incompetent. And the pushback I've received is that the crew of the Maginot is incompetent by design. They are meant to be incompetent. This is not just a writing issue. This is not just a plot convenience issue, but the actual crew is supposed to be incompetent and stupid because these are basically indentured servants. They're going off for 65 years. No one of high caliber would want to do that. Two things. First of all, yes, they would. I think that if we lived in a future with faster than light travel or speed of light travel, and you could go out into space and explore the far reaches of space and go on important science missions, even if that meant that the people that you loved grew old or died and you were gone, I think people would still do it because that's just part of human nature. That's part of that manifest destiny that's in humankind, that desire to strike out and explore new places, the far reaches of first this world and then the solar system, the galaxy, whatever. Lots of very competent, driven, ambitious people would compete to be able to do that. Would everybody on that ship be highly competent? I mean, who knows, right? There's going to be, maybe there's going to be some of the jobs where people are less so. Does it mean they're going to be perfect? No, I think that there's so many other flaws beyond incompetence and stupidity. This is one of the main problems with this show, is that by and large, the problems, the flaws that different characters have are all the same. They're incompetent and stupid, rather than, the many other flaws that people could have, including, jealous, petty, etc., etc. So the second thing is, and this is just more like, I don't know how people explain this, but if the crew of this ship is so incompetent and stupid, and that's by design because these are not the cream of the crop, how did they capture these alien species successfully? How did they go out there into the far reaches of space, find dangerous, deadly, intelligent alien life, capture it, and then put it on their ship and bring it home? If they are as idiotic as this show makes them, where they're eating and drinking in a science lab, in a biolab, a secure biolab, how did they catch the damn aliens? You can't have it both ways. You can't say that they're stupid and incompetent by design and that they did this remarkable thing capturing the first, well, maybe it's not the first alien life, but these unknown species that are highly dangerous. How did they do that? Moving on to where Toodles, I can't believe we're using these names, where Toodles goes into the secure lab and the feeding door jams and he breaks it off. So he has the bright idea of opening the main door to the cell with the bug-like creatures and putting the tray of minerals that they eat into the room. Now, Toodles doesn't open the door and slide the tray in, right? He opens the door and goes in and puts the tray down. And okay, even for a kid, I feel like this is extremely stupid, but also out of character more so. Like, if most kids, they know this is scary. Like, these are scary creatures, especially like knowing that these particular ones happen to eat metal, like what you're made out of, or at least partly made out of. So I think most kids, first of all, probably wouldn't even open the door, but those ones ballsy enough to do that, or stupid enough to do that, would probably slide the tray in rather than go in. But that's not really the stupidity that I'm even focusing on. So when people are like, see, this is the other bit of pushback. I wrote a post where I was like, okay, the stupidity could be avoided with like basic levels of communication, oversight, etc. And then I started getting a lot of comments that were saying, well, they're just kids. They're just kids. They're just kids. So I updated the post and I said, before you say they're just kids, like, take all these other things into consideration, which is that I'm not even talking about the stupidity of the kids. I'm talking about the stupidity of Prodigy and the people running this facility, in that they let the kids roam free everywhere. They don't have any supervision of the kids. They let Toodles into the lab by himself, and there's no security outside the lab. There's no one monitoring him while he's in there. Like, this is extremely stupid, right? It's also just not realistic. Like, realistically, if you had these $6 billion hybrid synths, you wouldn't just let them go willy-nilly wherever they wanted. Like, apparently there's the technology in these things that they can actually see through their eyes. How do they not have either a human or synth staff member pretty much glued to them all the time? I substitute taught for a little while when I was much younger. One of the substitute teaching gigs I got was for behavioral special education. So these were not like mentally handicapped kids. They were like the really bad kids. There was a 1-to-1 ratio of teacher to student in this class. There was about 6 or 7 kids. Each one had a substitute teacher like me. We would follow them around to their classes because they were such wild cards. And these are just basically, bad kids. I hate to say that, bad kids. They were badly behaved children. One time, one of the kid that I was following, who was a big guy, for an 8th grader, this kid, I think he was probably more like a 9th or 10th grader. He was really big, probably had been held back, but he just got up out of class and walked out into the hall, and I wasn't allowed to actually do anything, but I followed him into the hall, and I walked around the halls with him, just chilling. He would hit lockers and shout. He was very angry, but I couldn't legally, it wasn't my job to actually do anything, but I was just there. This is a junior high school, but in Prodigy, at their Neverland freaking high-tech facility, they don't have anybody just walking around with the kids or accompanying them when they do like dangerous things. That's crazy. That's super stupid to me. But people will say, well, they don't allow humans in the lab, so it had to just be him. Again, this is a multi-trillion-dollar company. Why don't they have more synths who can be staffed in these labs and observe and protect the hybrids? Why is it just Kirsh? Why don't they have, a dozen synths working in this facility? To me, again, that's crazy. And it sort of feels like Noah Hawley and the creators of this show are trying to reproduce the scarcity that we got in the original Alien film, right? Because that's a ship out in the middle of nowhere, so inherently there's scarcity. There's only so many resources. There's only so many people on the crew. But the same rules don't apply when you're on Earth at the heart of this corporation's power, at the seat of its power, where its overlord lives. In that context, you would have abundance, not scarcity. So it makes really literally no sense that there's not more safeguards, fail-safes, staff, other synths, watching these kids, even without the aliens there, these are super dangerous, right? We're led to believe that these hybrid characters are extremely dangerous, powerful, etc., etc. Although out of all of them, only Wendy ever really shows that she's any of those things. And I guess Nibs, because she goes crazy. She goes crazy. She's just a crazy woman. But people say, after I make these points, Kirsh is manipulating everything. Yes, obviously. I don't know how many people have told me, you're just not paying attention. You haven't noticed that Kirsh is manipulating everything. Yeah, duh. For many episodes now, it's been very obvious that Kirsh is manipulating everything. What his motives are remain unclear. For a while, I was thinking he's jealous of the hybrids. Then I started to think, well, like in the latest episode, he captures Morrow, and so was he just manipulating events just to like capture Morrow and making letting all these bad things happen just so he could capture his rival? Maybe he's maybe he's not actually working against. I'm gonna call him Kid Cavalier. Kid Cavalier, the boy genius. The thing is that if Kirsh is manipulating everything, I can't talk. If he is manipulating everything, I've got a couple problems with that. Like, first of all, it's just too easy. It's the whole Ryan George thing. But it must be tough to cause chaos and wreak havoc at this powerful corporation's headquarters. No, it's super easy, barely an inconvenience, because there really isn't anything he has to do. He just has to look on his tablet, and when his boss is like, "Is everything cool?" He's like, "Yeah, everything's cool." And that's pretty much it. Like to make an interesting manipulation story, of which there are many out there, you have to have the manipulator doing things that you can observe, or that later you're like, "Oh shit, he was behind it all." This kind of takes a middle ground. Like, they don't show him doing much to manipulate people, but they also don't have like this big reveal where you're like, "Oh crap, he was behind it all along." You just sort of see him looking at his tablet and watching people. And I love Timothy Oliphant, and I think Kirsh is an interesting character, but as far as like giving him his own obstacles to overcome, there really aren't any. There aren't security at the lab. There's no protocols to keep the kids safe. So all he really has to do is let them wander free until something bad happens, and then exploit that, which is just kind of lame and boring. And also, like, what if it didn't work? What if Toodles didn't go into the cell and get surprised by the eyeball sheep and didn't die? What if that had happened? Then if Kirsch's whole plan was to help Slightly achieve his goal, which was apparently to get Arthur face hugged and get down to the beach where Morrow could get him, which is another sort of plan that doesn't make sense, because what if nobody got face hugged? Like, what if no human went to that lab? Like, if Toodles hadn't done that, Arthur wouldn't have gone to the lab, so the face hugger wouldn't have gone on Arthur's face, and Slightly couldn't have helped with Smee, brought him down to the beach for Morrow, so that plan's shot. Was that really the plan? It seems to rely on a lot of conveniences, and then so does Kirsch's. It's like all these plans are happening, but they're all based not on like active design, but just like, if this shit goes down right, we've got a plan. I mean, that's not great storytelling. That's not great writing, right? Like, explain it to me if that works in some way that I'm just not seeing. The other problem with Kirsch's manipulation is that if you make everybody stupid, then the manipulator, the grand schemer, the guy behind the curtain, doesn't seem that smart, actually. He's just manipulating idiots. And that's the problem here. Everyone from Kid Cavalier to all the synths, it's just pretty much everyone, just like everyone on the crew of the research vessel, they're just all so stupid and gullible. And there's just nothing in place. So Kirsch doesn't really have to overcome like the security, because the security is non-existent. He doesn't have to fool Boy Cavalier, because Boy Cavalier is just a moron. He's the furthest thing from a genius imaginable. We'll get to more of that in a minute. There are other stories with great manipulators, right? Like, for instance, Othello. Iago is considered one of the great manipulators in literature, and he uses Othello's weaknesses against him, right? He uses jealousy. He even warns Othello about jealousy while making him jealous. It's great manipulation. Using someone's weakness is an interesting way to undermine them, to fuck them over, right? We see that happen in Game of Thrones with Littlefinger, Peter Baelish. It's easy to say, well, Ned Stark, Catelyn Stark, like they were very stupid. They made very stupid choices. And yeah, on a certain level they did. Ned's bad choices, though, were rooted in his sense of honor and duty and his naivete around court politics and court intrigue and the whole like dynamic of King's Landing. He thought, that the honorable and the strong would overcome, and he put his faith in Littlefinger. Littlefinger exploited Ned's naivete and his sense of honor because he knew that Ned would never see it coming. Catelyn, same thing. Catelyn makes some very stupid choices. She's not a stupid person, but she makes stupid choices. But those are rooted in her grief and anger and drive to get justice for what happened to her son. So there's there's all these cracks in their armor, right, that Littlefinger is able to exploit. Later in Game of Thrones, there's the plot against Littlefinger that Arya and Sansa do in Winterfell, and it's really some of the stupidest TV you've ever seen. I mean, honestly, it makes Alien Earth look smart. But we're not going to go there right now. I get a little upset just thinking about it. Other manipulators, like, Better Call Saul, Jimmy McGill. Jimmy McGill is a con man. He's constantly manipulating everyone. The whole series is kind of about his inability to just be honest with people, right? And he's very good at manipulating people. And he's a likable character. Like there's this part of him that he always wants to do good, but he just doesn't know how to do good without being manipulative. And in the first arc of that show, his brother Chuck is kind of the antagonist, right? He's the one that sees through Jimmy's bullshit when no one else does. And Chuck is very, very smart. So the fact that Jimmy has to overcome all these obstacles in his attempts to manipulate everyone to undermine his brother makes for really compelling television. So when people say like, oh, if this show was all about smart people, if it was just everyone smart making smart choices, it wouldn't be very interesting. Well, that's bullshit. Look at Better Call Saul. Saul makes terrible choices, but they're often quite smart. Chuck is very smart. He's not making stupid choices. These are two very smart men who make smart choices, and it creates friction, tension, suspense, and ultimately sort of a tragic outcome. Same thing later on in Better Call Saul with Gus Fring and Lalo. They have a showdown that lasts a couple seasons, and they're both extremely cunning and devious and ruthless. And seeing two people like Lalo and Gus Fring work against each other using all of their willpower and their means and their resources and their viciousness makes for great drama. If Lalo had been a moron, making stupid choices left and right, and Gus had manipulated him and overcome Lalo's idiocy through Gus's, you see, it doesn't work. It doesn't make for good television. It doesn't create actual drama. So then if we keep going along these lines, people then say, well, it's a critique of corporatism and technology. It's a critique of capitalism, and all I have to say about that, and I'm just going to wrap this up, is so what? We've seen it done better previously many, many times. This has been a critique that we've seen play out in science fiction, and everything from Neuromancer to Blade Runner to Cyberpunk 2077. All kinds of science fiction has tackled the problems with mega corporations and technology out of control and synthetics and androids and all of it, and it's all been done better. So what exactly are they doing here that I haven't seen already done better in books, in movies, in TV, and video games? And the answer is, at least 7 episodes into this 8-episode season, nothing. So thank you for watching. That's my response to fans. If you like Alien Earth, it's okay. You're allowed to have your opinion. I'm allowed to have mine. It's fun to talk about. Part of being a fan of something is talking about the stuff that we're fans of, including criticizing it. We can still watch it, even if we're not liking it, because maybe we're curious to see what happens, and you can like it. Even if I don't, it doesn't hurt you. You're going to be okay. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment. Peace.
Making there, that's then. It's an alien show. It's an alien show.